The manual of the Crazy Tube Circuit's Venus states that it's inspired by one of the greatest masterpieces of the pedal museum, tube tone pedal. I had no idea there was a pedal museum, and I had no idea which pedal this was based on. So I had to do a little research, and turns out it's based on the tube driver, which was loved by Gilmour and Satriani. If you've been watching my channel, you know that I grew up with B.B. King and Eric Clapton, so I have no idea what those guys use. So that's why I had to do some research. I gotta admit though, it sounds absolutely wonderful. There's a tube inside. And you get a 3-band EQ and 2 switches, tight and line or driver. And line driver, which lets you switch between the buffered or unbuffered input. Unbuffered instrument level output of the pedal version or the buffered line level output of the rack mount unit. I had no idea there was a rack mount unit as well, so I'm completely oblivious and probably the worst person to demo this pedal. But as I said, it sounds wonderful, so I'm glad I'm doing this. Let's start with clean. Oh, haha. Bias control, so you can bias the tube and make it sound gnarlier. Or tighter. Here we go. Then we have the tight switch. On its own, I prefer the tight off. But in a band setting, this would poke through the mix. Line driver on. Rolling back on the gain, you have your EQ here. A huge range, like a metal zone, but better. It's an absolute beast. Ratings. Build quality seems solid. 8 out of 10. Innovation. It's their version of a tube driver. Is there innovation? I mean, it hasn't been done a lot. And Crazy Tube Circuits has been on a roll with their recreations of older stuff. Yeah, so they're sticking to the theme, and I love that. There's not a lot of innovation, but plenty. 7 out of 10. Looks, it stays true to the original with the color and beautiful graphic. Simple, yet effective. 8 out of 10. Ease of use. Because it has a tube, it needs a lot of power, and the maximum power consumption is 400 milliamps. Most power supplies can handle that, but don't daisy chain it with other pedals. Crazy Tube Circuits includes an adapter with it, which is super nice. But you have to make sure you're feeding the pedal enough power. Aside from that, knobs are pretty self-explanatory. I would say 7 out of 10. Sound. Well, like I said, I'm the worst guy to demo this pedal. I have no idea what the original should sound like, but this sounds epic. 8 out of 10. Pricing, €299. For a pedal with a tube inside, I mean, it's fair, but still, it's a lot of money. 7 out of 10. Brings the total to a 7.5 out of 10. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye.